Like,
okay, yeah, that's the one
the other
I
half of her is chaos.
Which
Just a little bit.
Taking your plane.
Hershey was. Yeah. I guess they're both hers.
Hello.
Appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah. We can see all of you now.
I did.
Are we live?
No, we're not live yet. I'm just ready to click on all.
I think we can go live though.
You want me to go ahead and go live? Okay.
Oh my gosh, what are those things? Bonnie with it.
Okay, we are live on Instagram, live on Twitter, live on Facebook.
Those are our
Yes, and then we have the audio behind you for YouTube, but no visual tonight.
Okay.
We're too much for you guys today.
It is live.
Oh, it is live.
Just give me the go ahead. Is Mr. President, is this all of your exec staff that will be doing this tonight?
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, Warren,
Where'd he go?
Warren.
Did he already leave?
Warren was here.
There he is.
He's still here. Okay, there you go.
He said, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Okay.
Are you ready? Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our Presidential Town Hall Part 2. So this is our second one of the semester, and we are very thankful for everyone who could join us the first time, but we still have more questions, so we're hosting a second event. So I'm Megan McAfee. I'm the Vice President of Operations for SGA, and I'll be serving once again as the moderator for this event. And with us here today, we have our SGA President, Hershila Lalu, our UCA President, Mr. Houston Davis, and parts of his exec staff behind him. We have Dr. Michael Hargis, the Interim Provost and Executive Vice President, and Mr. Warren Reed, now our General Counsel, and Ms. Diane Newton, the Vice President of Finance and Administration, and Mr. Ronnie Williams, Vice President for Student Services and Institutional Diversity. Long title. So first we'll begin by receiving a short report of any changes that might have been made due to our first presidential town hall, or just any short updates, and we'll start with SGA President Hershila Lalu.
Okay, awesome. So the biggest one we had today, we had our official Zagster launch party, and so it was a huge success, and I don't know if you all can see over here, but Mr. Spencer Burton right there, we're very proud to have him. So we're really excited for the Zagster program to really kicking off, and we're so excited to see what happens with it. We've already been hearing students say that we need more, so they're utilizing it, and I think it's going to be a great success. Biggest thing in SGA is elections. So we are currently in the campaigning phase, and elections will be Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and we will have voting booths downstairs in the Student Center on Wednesday and Thursday from 8 to 2 p.m., 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and so that's just an opportunity for students to come vote. And then another important thing is we have an advising survey out right now through our Academic Affairs Committee, and so students, check your emails, make sure you fill it out, because that is some useful information that we will be forwarding to Provost Hargis and the new provost that will join us in the summer. So that's some of the biggest things that are going on. Other than that, we are just really, really excited for all the accomplishments that we've been able to do. We still have projects in the works, and the year is winding down, and it's a crazy time, but we're making it. And so if there's, again, anything that we can always do, just let us know.
Right, and now an update from UCA President Houston Davis.
Well, my update tonight, before we get to questions from the group and some that were submitted perhaps, is as much to thank SGA for a great spring term. As I think about not only the events of today, thinking about the Zagster, launch. That's something that really SGA deserves the credit for getting that off of High Center and down the path to where that could happen. I really, Spencer, thank you so much. We were able to thank you earlier today, but I like this as being committed for record, that you deserve a special thank you for that. But it really has been a remarkable spring semester. I so appreciate that SGA has joined us in a number of initiatives surrounding sexual assault awareness and really thinking about being as proactive as we could possibly be, but also knowing how to be reactive when sadly those events do occur. We as a campus have to work together on that, and I think this spring we've made some strides. It was interesting in the last SGA public forum that a lot of the questions were surrounding that, and I was glad that we were able to talk about some of the activities that were underway, and I know that that's going to be more as we look to the future. I also just want to thank SGA for being willing to do this and a number of other activities through the year where you really are a good sounding board for your student body. You're great about not just passively being student leaders, you're actively going out and listening for input about things that can improve this university. We're very proud of UCA. This is a wonderful place to learn and to live and to do what we do, but we can always be better. And I love that SGA takes on the trait, just like most of our campus, of not being satisfied. We always want to be better, and it's wonderful to have this body to work with. I'm delighted that this is the second of these forums, and we do want to make this a regular occurrence. I look forward as we finish this one, it probably will form a little bit of a work agenda. I know that coming out of the last meeting, we had a number of questions that not only did we work to get answered for the people that submitted those, but there were some ideas that undoubtedly will form the basis of the relationship that I'll have with Hersheila's successor as SGA president, and I begin working with the executive committee on those agenda items for the next year. So thank you to all students that participated in this, and to those of you are taking advantage of the social media today. We very much appreciate you taking the time as well.
All right, so at this time, we will accept questions from our student audience. So if there are any questions within the audience, we have a little bit of time for that. If not, there's a question?
I submitted it online. My name's Emily Harris. I'm a graduate student here. I actually graduated with a bachelor's 20 years ago, and now I'm back. But I'm part of the interdisciplinary leadership program, and I'm very concerned about the access to fresh fruits and vegetables on campus. I snapped a picture of the vending machine in the education building, and we have Twinkies and Ho-Hos and Snickers and Kit Kats and Doritos and Fritos, and that you can't eat just one Lay's potato chips, and there is nothing healthy for students to eat. And especially if we expect our teachers to go out and teach their students how to eat healthy, we have to start here at home at UCA. So I would like to recommend or suggest that we complete a food map of campus. Actually identify each and every opportunity to obtain food on campus, and do a survey of the students and identify those gaps between what we have and what we need, and then try to come up with a plan how to get it.
That's a wonderful idea. I mean, you've described a vending machine that sounds like heaven to me. No, I'm joking. Those are precisely the things that my mother and my wife want to keep me away from. You're exactly right. They're I think thinking about what is available, not even from vending machines, but all the way through what we have in terms of offerings in Christian cafeteria and all our other opportunities around the campus. We do need to be addressing, what are the healthy options that are available. I know that that's been a point of emphasis of some of the reviews that Aramark and what is the name of the committee?
Food Service Committee.
Food Service Committee. It's so that's the name. So Food Service Committee has taken a look at how we can both make known to students where the various health indicators are, what are the nutritional guidelines that go behind each of the offerings that are available. I don't know that we've taken that to thinking about a review of vending machines and other options.
Actually, we went with the particular vendor we have, which is Gillies, for vending, for that particular reason. because they did have a wider offering and availability to get those healthier snacks. And it could be that we just need to talk with them and make sure that all of the vending machines have those availabilities. Now they're pretty good about coming in and removing what's in there, because the healthier snacks tend to not have the shelf life as some of the others. And they do come in and remove those periodically, much more often than they do the others.
And I think part of that is the price too. There were some pistachios and the vending machine at the library, but like they were over $3.
Okay.
So, you know, if you get a
Well, we
cupcake for.
can absolutely look at that, and I would suggest, like you said, we combine that with the other food service.
Absolutely.
Great
Yes,
idea.
you're right.
How do I find you to get in touch with you?
Okay, my name is Diane Newton, and I'm in Wingo, 3rd floor.
Okay, I'll send you an email and we'll make an opportunity to try and get that assessment done, and then that would be lovely.
dnewton@uca.edu.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any other student questions?
One of mine which was also submitted online, actually came from a former student who asked me, who contacted me because I'm still friends with him. And he wanted to go to graduate school at UCA, but UCA doesn't have as many graduate opportunities as a lot of other schools in the state. So he was wondering what UCA is trying to do to add more graduate and doctoral programs to its campus.
Well, and I'm gonna go ahead and prep Dr. Michael Hargis for my phone a friend to him. But I think that actually in another setting today, I mentioned the fact that I think a lot of as we're looking to growth opportunities in the future, including first-time freshman enrollment growth and transfer enrollment growth, I think that there are great opportunities for graduate enrollment growth. And that is not only growing the number of students that are participating in our existing programs, but us identifying some high-demand next offerings, what might be the next 1, 2, or 3 graduate programs that UCA would pursue. One thing that you should know is that it's not just flip a switch and you start a program. That's something that we have to, if we identify a program that we are interested in offering, we have to begin a process that puts out a kind of a letter of intent to the state of Arkansas, and they look at it from a system of opportunities to see are those programs that are already available. That starts a process of give and take about us as a university or any other university defending why we need to add that program to our graduate program inventory. But the idea of if there's a program that there's significant demand for, that we could document that within our student body currently that there's existing demand for that, or we think that we can identify that there's market for that, that absolutely is what our future is going to be. I mean, looking to see where we've got smart opportunities for enrollment growth, where there are sort of strategic risk in starting up new programs, because we do think that there's demand that warrants it. Dr. Hargis, do you want to say anything else about that?
I mean, you pretty well covered it. I think any program grows in incremental fashion, right? And so oftentimes the first place we look at what do we have on the books right now. So one of the things you said was doctoral programs. So there we're going to look at what our master's programs look like now, where we're getting a lot of demand. So we have faculty strength there, so that makes sense to move up one level and expand the number of doctoral programs we have. And that's something we've seen in our clinical programs over the last 3 or 4 years as we expand our doctor of occupational therapy and also the doctor of nursing practice. And so we have added a few in that capacity, but each college looks at them, looks at those opportunities annually and thinks about where their growth rates. So as students think about this and as they look around at other opportunities, we absolutely want to hear what is interesting, but then we have to go through that due diligence process to see if it makes sense with where we are as an institution.
All right.
Observation note.
Sorry.
Are there any other student questions? We'll have time maybe at the end for more if you think of them.
Also, really quick, I have my card here, and I'm sorry my handwriting's bad, but I wrote down Ms. Newton's email on here. So this email will stay the same even when I'm gone in a month. And so feel free to email this number. I will let me send it to you real quick. Oh, pass it down. Okay, there you go.
All right, and so with that, we will begin with the submitted questions.
Sorry. We're going to let you all do your reports.
Oh,
Really
yes,
quick.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. course.
It's okay.
So are there any other reports from the exec staff?
Okay. So I thought I'd talk a little bit today about, come up.
Stand to be able to catch this.
Talk a little bit about advising and the advising process and some of the changes that are being worked through this year. We have a centralized and decentralized model for advising as it stands right now. So we have a centralized academic advising center that really is geared towards students in their first 60 hours or right when they transfer into the institution. And that's the first touch point. That's what it's designed to be, is the first touch point for our students. The advisors in that unit are trained for the UCA core and really trained to answer some of the basic questions as students start to transition into majors, right? But at some point in every student's academic career, we need to transition those students to department level advising. And that's not the same across majors, right? In some majors that happens at 30 hours, in other majors that happens at a particular class point, and then others at 60 hours, that transition into their junior year. This year, what the Advising Center has really been working on is making sure that we provide appropriate academic progress audits at the 30-hour mark and the 60-hour mark. Those things are being implemented in the Academic Advising Center. But then we also want to make sure that information is carried forward with a student across their academic experience. So we've really been focusing in on what that connection point between the Academic Advising Center and the department looks like. So how can we facilitate information going with the student from the Advising Center, that centralized resource, to the decentralized departments across campus. In the past, it's been a vacuum, right? The Advising Center stops, and students then, in essence, are set to navigate that relationship with their faculty or department level advisor on their own. Well, sometimes that has worked fantastically. Other times, not so much, right? So the Advising Center has really spent this year establishing relationships with the departments so that they know what that transition looks like. What does it look like for an accounting student? What does it look like for a nursing student? And they've navigated that process so that as a student declares their major early on, they can begin to build those department linkages. And so that's been a major hurdle that we've worked to overcome this year, is that 30-hour, 60-hour, and then the transition to the department level. The other thing that's happened is the registrar's office has taken over the final degree audit. That used to happen in our Advising Center, but the Advising Center is not the unit on campus that credentials programs. The credentials, or asserts, or assesses, I should say, academic progress and the completion of degrees. The registrar's office is. And so in looking at that process, we've moved the final degree audit to the registrar's office, but we've also moved the 90-hour degree audit to the registrar's office because we want students to get an earlier snapshot of where they stand, right? I mean, there's where you think you are, and then where the check sheet indicates that you are. We want to make sure that at 90 hours, those things are the exact same. Because at 90 hours, you have the opportunity for a summer session if you need to take an additional class or to take an extra class in a semester, but to catch up, right, or to make plans that are appropriate. So that's been another change that we have worked to implement this year, and everybody's on board, and that's going into effect this semester. So I think what we'll find is students have a better understanding of where they are at each of those cycles, so 30 hours, 60 hours, 90 hours, and then the graduation process. But then along the way, we've invested in the structures we need to make sure conversation and information is flowing appropriately, so that transition across the student's academic career is smoother than it has been. So that's my update. Thank you.
I'll go next. Just digging in on a couple of things that we have going. I think first of all, the one that most people are interested in is Donahue Hall. And it's one that we're really excited about because some really cool things are beginning to happen over there. You will start seeing construction. We've started the demo work within the old Mosaic space, as well as Uncle T's, and now Blue Cell as well. So that demolition is going to be starting. It's going to be a little bit of a construction zone, but you know, it's going to be really great once everything's done. We're looking at the Twisted Taco going in at the Mosaic space. That should be done at the beginning of the fall. Einstein's Brothers will be not moving, but having an additional space located in the former Blue Cell tenant space. And that should be done middle of the summer, but it may be closer to the fall semester. We have coming soon signs coming soon. Those should be up in maybe a week and a half or so. So people know what's going in those particular spaces. So we're really tickled about that. The other thing that's going to be happening, and I think I've talked to some of you about this already, Java City, if you are a Java City lover, there's good news and bad news. Bad news is we're going to take Java City out. The good news is a Starbucks kiosk is going in. So that's going to be, I think, it's going to meet the needs of those students and employees who work in the college business. The kiosk is going to be open the entire time that the building is open. So that's going to be much better. You don't have to just depend on when Java City's open. The kiosk is just, you go up, you know, you swipe your card, get your coffee, and you can go back your way. So we're excited about those things happening. I'm glad the food question came up because we do have a group. We're real original. We're called the Food Service Group. And we meet about monthly. And we talk about all these things that we would like to see. The original intent of the group was to determine if UCA is better off operating food service the way we are now, which is outsourcing it, or would it be better, would it serve us better if we operated it on ourselves? So in order to do that, we had to meet and talk about a lot of different things. And if we're going to operate it ourselves, we need to put a lot of things in place because the contract ends in 2022. So now's the time to make those decisions. But what we're finding as we're going through this process, we're finding all these things that, well, you know, if we did it ourselves, we'd do it like this. And then it dawned on us, well, why don't we just ask Fairmont to do it like this in the meantime until we make all these decisions? And that's what we're doing. So hopefully we'll get some of these things addressed and make it better while we're under this contract. So, and when that continues, who knows? We don't know what we're going to find out. Stay tuned. And that's really about all the updates I have.
Thank you.
I guess, good afternoon, everybody. Three things I want to update you on. For Sheila, reminded us we should be prepared to do that just a few minutes ago. So there are three things I want to update you on. One is the needs-based office. So what we decided to do with the help of the student and her team is to consolidate all of our needs-based funding programs into one office. So the APSEC, which is for students with exceptional circumstances, the DASH grant, emergency scholarship, emergency student loan, into one office. That office will be housed on the third floor of the Student Health Center. John Fincher will be responsible for that. We're going to take existing space there and repurpose that space, make some infrastructure changes there to accommodate that line. We anticipate having that in place for the fall of 2018, so that expect that in place for the fall. So students will have a one-stop shop option there, so you won't have to go to different places around campus. So we're excited about that. The other thing is, I bet Richard has talked with you about that, is the ropes course that we plan to put in place. We are yet to finalize the exact location. Richard and I are working on that so that we can take that back to President Davis and executive staff so we can pinpoint that and get final approval. So we're really excited about that. The last thing I'll mention is the co-curricular transfer. We have been talking about that for a year. That's a goal that I've set, so President Davis is watching that. He's keeping me moving forward on that. We're excited about that. We plan to call the program Engage. It's conceptual at this point. We have We're yet to have complete buy-in from our friends on the academic side. We have a consultant coming in the next 30 days.
There was the bus.
No. Dr. Harkins and I have talked about that, but we will need the complete buy-in from the council of deans, from the provost, and from the faculty senate as well. So that you'll hear more about that. It is my hope to talk with the SGA before the semester ends, and then ultimately with the president and exec staff. So those are 3 things we're working on. We're excited about. You have to answer a question very quickly. You have either of those 3 programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will just, as President Davis alluded to at the beginning of it, I think almost all of my questions last time were about Title IX and sexual assault. So I would point out that this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. One of the things I want to commend on that is, I know Sheilah's on that group, but it really brings together not just university departments that have some obligations to do that, but a significant number of student organizations. It's a combined effort of everybody and really kind of brings it from the ground up, which is the only way a difference is ever going to be made. It can come down from the top all day long and people won't listen. But the various student groups all get active and get their members, and that keeps spreading out. That's the way a culture is changed. And so I just want to commend both your group and all the organizations that are involved in that. That's we got to start somewhere, and that's a good start.
Thank you.
I want to add something on that. Sorry. Thank you for mentioning that. So I serve on the Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Committee. I think that's the name we ended up at. There's been a lot of name changes. So we have condensed all, we've collaborated and gotten all of the different events going on campus and created a flyer that was sent out. Again, check your emails, students. And so it's just so neat to be able to see everything going on in one place and seeing all the different groups on campus collaborating and working together. Something that we're doing new is SGA is going to be doing a It Starts With Me campaign, and next Wednesday and the Wednesday after in the Student Center from 11 to 1 downstairs, we'll have a table and we have a bystander intervention pledge that students can just come sign, and then you get a little wristband with it, and so definitely please come check it out. The safety committee and myself worked hard on it, and so we're excited to bring this to UCA and hope to make it an annual thing, and then continue to see all of the different departments on campus continue to host events during this very important month. So just wanted to add that. Yeah.
And this is in response to a question that Sheila raised about the possibility of adding 2 numbers on the back of the barricade. That was the sexual assault and the suicide prevention numbers. And the student is looking at a way to condense all of that information and get those numbers on.
Yes.
Works.
Yes.
Like you've spoken with Stephanie.
I have, yes. Thank you. Wow, so many things slipping through my mind. Yes, it is the Sexual Assault Crisis Response of Central Arkansas. I believe that is the correct terminology, but that number along with the suicide prevention hotline number will hopefully be on the back of the bear card coming soon. So thank you, Ms. Newton, and Dr. McBrayer for helping with that. I'm really, really excited to be able to hopefully see that. I know a lot of universities have that on the back of their bear cards, and so that's where I got the idea from, and it's happening. Yeah.
All right, so now we will go to pre-submitted questions, and then at the end we'll take a little bit of time for more questions from the audience. So the first question says, and I quote, "I was a graduating senior, but was told I was not allowed to graduate when my department major was forcibly changed from kinesiology to exercise science. As a result, I had to stay an extra year, not being able to renew my state scholarship, and it caused me a financial burden. What are SGA and our new president going to do so that issues like this don't happen to other students?"
First of all, does that person have their name and contact information where I could follow up to get more details?
We can look. Majority of the questions submitted did have a name. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, broad response is I would like to talk to that student and learn more about, because if there was an error made in the timing of something that caused them to have to be here for an additional term or terms, that's something that would be of great concern to us if that was no fault of their own and something that was because of a change that the university made and that was not made known well in advance of those changes. But I'd like to learn more about the situation before I rush to judgment on that. But please do what you can to find out what that student's name and contact number is, and I'd like to follow up with them.
Definitely.
That's absolutely fair.
Yes. Just a heads up, Stephanie McBrayer is actually watching right now live on Instagram and just sent a thumbs up for giving her a shout out. So.
Thank you.
All right, the next question, previously submitted, says, my previous college, the U of A, in addition to OBU, Hendrix, and many other Arkansas colleges, have 24-hour food places on campus. Why doesn't UCA?
Has that come up in the food
Yeah,
service committee?
Yes, it actually has. It really comes down to a matter of the demand. We have looked at late night options. As a matter of fact, we have opened up the library. The Starbucks in the library is our late night option. And at one point it was staying open until 2 a.m. And I think that was mainly during exams, and then beyond that it's I think 1 a.m. I'd have to double check on those times, but that is our late night option. We tried in the Fresh Beef cafeteria for a little while, just keeping track of how many actually come after certain hours, and it would be one person in an hour, or 3 people after 9 o'clock. And it's just really hard to keep that operation going because it's not one of those locations that you can just have one person in there. You have to have multiple people, and the numbers just didn't work. That's why we did choose Starbucks, because it was a smaller environment, and we felt, and one of the reasons we did that is because we felt like, and boy, the students were going to be in the library anyway, hopefully. And we thought that was a safe place for students to feel safe to go there, and they might feel safer going there than knowing that there would be a lot of people around, rather than creating a new location that there may and may not be as many people around. So yes, we have looked at that, and we continue to look at it, and it will be something our food service will be looking at as well, our food service group.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Okay, this one's a little lengthy. Why do some students get tickets for parking parallel behind Arkansas Hall, but some do not? Is this area parking or not? I have been told different things by fellow residents, and as someone who occasionally parks there sometimes, I get tickets, and sometimes I don't. Some of my friends have never gotten tickets, but some always do. I am confused. Rightfully so.
Sounds like a timing issue to me, when the officers are coming. It would be my assumption that if tickets are given ever, that's a no parking zone. But we have to look on the map. Behind Arkansas Hall?
No, that's what I'm trying.
Yes.
I can explain further on the question, because that actually came up with parking committee as well, because I found a student who had a similar concern. What they're doing is they're parking parallel behind Arkansas, and typically in those areas there's actually a curb, but because of how the parking lot's designed, there is no curb there. So the students are under the impression, because there is no sign that says they cannot park, no red lines that say that they cannot park, and no curb that they can park there, when that is not the case.
Okay, I'm a visual person. So imagine State Hall is on your left, okay, and then Snow Fine Arts is on your right, and then so is Arkansas. So Bear Hall is right here, and Arkansas is right here. There's a gravel parking lot right there, mini gravel parking lot. There's parking spots right here, and in the middle, but there's this area right here. So
Yeah.
that's what, yeah.
Well, are you talking about the little alley part, or are you
No.
talking about
No,
as you
talking
turn
right
in,
up against
as
the
you
building.
turn into
Yeah.
the parking lot?
Yeah, so there's gravel spots, like the one, like there's a spot, some tree
Grass,
stuff, and then another spot, tree stuff. And then it's like the area that you drive around to get around to the other side, but people are parking right there and there's no sign.
Right, it should be no parking there, and we probably need to look at that. The reason it's no parking is because other cars cannot get around. And I know that for a fact because I pulled in there and I had to back out. So, but we'll look at that and see if we can't mark that so that it's more clear.
Thank you. All right, the next question refers to academic advising. It says, why is it that some academic advisors tell me that FYX classes, first year seminar, are required for my graduation and some tell me they are not? In addition, if they are required, can they actually be classes I need for my degree, as so far they have not been?
Yeah, so I'll jump in there. If a student transfers into our institution, presumably is taking their freshman year courses somewhere else, they're not required. So I don't know if that's the situation, but that is one of the factors that would be considered. And in terms of whether it fits into a student's major or not, there are a wide number of courses that are designated FYS courses. They do vary by fall and spring semesters, determined by departments. But there are a number of options that students can select. Whether they are specific to a major or not, it'd be hard for us to staff appropriately. If we were to, every psychology major takes this or every business major takes that. We do have them clustered within colleges, and so frequently students would be able to stay within their college kind of vertical as opposed to their specific major. So we have tried to be sensitive to that progression issue. But the first part of that question, where why would some advisors say it's always required and others not? Oftentimes there's a contingency factor in there. When does the student enter UCA?
Thank you. The next question is, why is the process for obtaining an emotional support animal on campus so difficult? At my previous school, it was really easy.
Thank you, Diane. No, I give them advice. It's actually it's part of the housing process. So, I mean, an emotional support animal is only allowed under federal law under circumstances for housing. And many times we get requests way beyond that, which are not appropriate for emotional support animal. It's a housing related question. That's why there's a committee that's made up of, I think if Dr. McGrayer is still watching, she's part of that. So now she's going to get thumbs down probably. She is part of that process, as is the Office of Disability Support Services. And so we examine all those. But there is a process to look at that because across the nation, those requests are spiraling upwards, and so it's simply not feasible to just allow everyone to have that without going through the appropriate documentation, because there is a legal standard in place. If we don't follow that and just let everybody, then everybody will have one, and we can't just arbitrarily tell people no. So we have to look at that documentation. I think most universities are shifting towards that. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, maybe that wasn't the case because it was not as prevalent.
Thank you. Okay. The next question says, what has the campus done to address the problem of tobacco use beyond passing the Smoke-Free Campus Initiative?
When was the Smoke-Free Campus Initiative passed?
Well, the state law made it, 10 or 15 years, a long time. I guess I think the question is, that's being addressed. There's no smoking on campus. I took the question as being, what are we doing to educate people to not smoke when they get in their car and drive downtown? And I don't know if that's coming out of some
student
health.
I was going to say, with student health and with our wellness department, we do a number of educational programs that encourage students to live healthy lifestyles. That includes alcohol, that includes smoking,
Cupcakes and so forth. Well, we have a nutritionist that sends out information on healthy eating.
So part of that's done education through our wellness department.
So Dr. McBrayer actually responded back on the emotional support animal and said there is more info on uca.edu/disability if you want to know more about that process.
There we go.
Thank you, Dr. McBrayer.
Thank you, Dr.
Awesome.
Loyal watcher. right.
I'm gonna phone her next time.
Okay, the next submitted question says, the campus at UCA is one of the prettiest in the country. I will put in my 2 cents and say I agree. It is really something to be proud of. However, the classrooms on the 3rd floor of Irby are embarrassing. The carpets are dirty, the desks and furniture are filthy, and the walls are only half painted in most cases. Can you tell me when the classrooms might see a fresh coat of paint? And I have pictures attached.
Wow, yes, I'll to the student that submitted that, I'd love to see the pictures. Let me say something before I turn to Diane Newton, maybe to fill in a couple of gaps. That was one of the things as we were briefing SGA about some priorities in the budget this next year. I think that we talked about the uses of the facilities fees for improvements to facilities, for new square footage that's coming online. That is a great question. It's almost the poster child for why we need to make certain that we're taking care of our existing square footage. If you don't have a plan for taking care of maintenance, I think as Diane said, that's how it becomes deferred maintenance. And campuses that let that go for a decade or more, you really get behind and it spirals out of control. I would love to see the pictures in question, would love to see it. I've only been, I think, on the 3rd floor of Irby a couple of times since I started in January last year. But certainly, if it's a coat of paint, those sorts of changes, those are things we can look at. If it has to do with internal renovations, that is something that we would have to put into the major maintenance and renovations accounts.
I think that's a great answer.
Thank you. Okay. The next question is, are either of you aware of the growing problem of traffic congestion on Bruce Street due to the crosswalk in front of Lewis? If so, are there any plans in the works to alleviate this issue?
Is that the light?
That's the one that I rode the bike over.
It's illegal, don't do it.
If they're at the wrong time in the car,
Yeah.
you're there until,
Yeah.
you're there for 10 minutes.
Let me say that, yes, I'm aware of it because I absolutely positively avoid driving down there during, really from 10 until about 1 o'clock. And certainly, and I think that we can continue to look at how that traffic flow. One of the things that I'm really worried about with regard to Bruce is as the city of Conway is opening up that corridor that's going to go all the way out to the new shopping center with the new, I am hoping that we don't have more congestion problems as there's more through traffic. That's, if there's anything that I'm concerned about, it's that the problem getting worse. Diane, Warren, have there been any other specific conversations about
Well, we have over the years looked at even closing Bruce streets to completely stop traffic because there are so many students that would cross, not even at the crosswalk there, because it's really, there's several buildings over there on our park camp. That's not feasible. The city's not going to allow that. So to some extent, there's always going to be traffic congestion because it's in essence like driving through the middle of campus. We have a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, and there can be congestion all over campus. So I think there's always going to be some of those issues, especially during the times the president addressed, as people get out of classes at Lewis Science Center and go back to the main part of campus or going to classes over there. That's always going to be an issue. And from a safety standpoint, we need those cars to be stopped and going very slowly.
And something, go ahead.
So Dr. Peter Mill, the interim dean for the College of Liberal Arts, responded to that question on Facebook and said, we've requested painting and new carpet, and we think this will be improved in Irby. So.
Wow! Look at that.
That's exciting. He said he's already working with our physical plan to address some of it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Mel.
Wow. Just something to add on that. I know PD always does Break for Bears, which is a very important event that they do, and they always have volunteers there. Like Warren mentioned, there's just a lot of traffic with Lewis and Labs, and that's a big section. Just freshmen, upperclassmen, usually at least one person has a class in that building, and so that is something that PD does that's very important.
Have we considered a suggestion for?
I know.
We have one that's going in over across Dave Ward to, I mean, for a number of reasons. It connects city trails and the like, but it will allow our residents of Bear Village and people that are looking to access those businesses across that street to be able to safely go across Dave Ward. But I could not tell you, being new, if there's ever been any talk about any other pedestrian bridges in any other part of the campus here.
No, there hasn't on that area particularly. But I can say that there are a number of different types of signals that can allow pedestrians to stop traffic. And it could be that we can investigate the possibility of a different kind of signal there that could allow, the light to stay red only, for so long, like maybe 2 minutes. So you can look at different kinds of options there. So we'll take a look at it and see what there is out there.
Okay, a few of our viewers are having a hard time hearing, especially from Mr. Williams and Mr. Wiedenauer. So maybe if you could stand and walk a little bit closer this way when you answer questions, that might be a little more helpful. Sorry. We only have two more. We only have 2 more questions, and they're both SGA related, so all this effort might be for nothing.
A for effort.
But
Thank you anyway.
now we're a closer-knit family. All right. So the next question says, I read the SGA section of the Echo every Wednesday and had a question about this week's edition in regards to raising the GPA requirement. Do you agree that SGA should be held to a higher academic standard?
Yes, so I will take that one. So a few years ago, our GPA was at a 2.75, the requirement for students to be a part of Senate. And it was voted to go down to 2.500. Dr. Tarka will appreciate that. And there was a motion made through our, it was a previous notice through our Internal Affairs Committee to raise it back up to 2.75. Like it was in there. It was a very healthy discussion. There were great points on both sides. I serve as non-voting, so I was not able to vote in that. But we've talked a little bit about it as an exec board, and unfortunately the motion was voted down, and so our GPA will remain at a 2.500 required to be a part of Senate. But we do a lot of great things in SGA, and as an exec board, we've discussed thoroughly about this, and we agree that students on Senate should be held to a higher standard. We do require a big time commitment out of our senators, and so we want all of our students to be academically sound before taking on SGA as well. We're students first, and that's our motto, and so that's a little bit of the SGA side of things. I don't know if you want to add anything onto that.
I'd rather not get into SGA business if I don't have to. So.
But thank you to the student reading the Echo and keeping up with SGA happenings.
Yeah. Okay, the final question submitted previously is also about SGA, and it says, why is joint campaigning no longer allowed for SGA elections?
Okay, so that is something that we as an exec board decided to do away with this past summer, and there are different rules. So at UCA, we don't run as tickets like other universities do, like U of A, you run as a ticket. So even though we had joint campaigning, whenever you get onto the ballot, it's not a group that you're choosing, it's individuals. And so just for the overall atmosphere, and if there's a situation where one person from one joint campaign and another person from another joint campaign, just to avoid just maybe misunderstandings or any problems that may arise, we just decided that it would be best to do away with it and just let everyone campaign on their own. So, yeah.
All right, well that concludes our pre-submitted questions via Google Form. So now, if there are any final questions from the audience, we will take those.
Yes.
Sure, and this goes to all of the executive staff. Sorry, Hershela.
Hey, that's fine.
So during your course, throughout your careers, y'all have all held various positions. This is not the first position y'all have held in academia. So my question to all of y'all was, what was your favorite position? Oh, wow. Well, actually, I was having a conversation with somebody just this morning that was sort of on this subject. I don't think that I've ever enjoyed a role more than it was right after I finished doctoral program at Vandy and started at Austin P. I was in my faculty assignment, doing some accreditation work and leading a research project. Strangely enough, that was the most pleased that I've ever been. I've enjoyed all the roles I've had. I mean, I love being president, but if you really pin me down to when was I the most productive and happiest in my career, it was in that window. I mean, I can mark it. That was 01, 02, 03, 04, around in that period of time. I really got a lot of energy out of that point in my career, and someday I'll get back to all that. So anyway, so that's exactly what I told the person earlier this morning. So.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. I have to be careful I answer this question, my president too. I don't want him to tell me, okay, it's time to get up to the day job. Let me tell you, I've been in higher ed for a very long time, and I've held a number of positions.
Just how long?
More than say too long. But I've held a number of positions on this campus. Certainly VP for Student Services for a long time, Chief Diversity Officer for the past 4 years, Director of Minority Affairs, and assistant to the former President Thompson. And I can tell you, when I was Director of Minority Affairs, I was the first Director of Minority Affairs, we call it something, the Office of Diversity and Community. That was by far, I loved the programming. I was on the ground working every day with students. I get a chance to work with you guys now, but it's from a different level. But when I was Director of Minority Affairs, I tell you what, it gave me a charge. And I held that position a couple of years before the president asked me to assume a different role. And quite honestly, I asked him if I could think about that. It took me a week to accept because I love that job. And so, but now that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy what I'm doing right now.
Well, I've got a better answer than you. Since this is my first job in academia, this is the favorite job.
Oh my gosh. I think mine's combined. There are certain elements from my different positions. I've been in higher ed since 1984, so I've been around a little while. But overall, I think right now here is my favorite. I have to say I do miss having the equestrian center at my last position under me. That was the coolest. It was hippotherapy program, and oh, it was just the coolest program. And I do miss that. But I think being here, you know, in my home state, doing a job that I get to, you know, I never know what I'm going to be doing any particular day. I may be walking around on the roof of a building, or I may be, which is why I never wear a dress.
You may be painting Irving Hall for
Dr. Melby, I'm a volunteer.
Just to be able to do so much, to have my hand in so many different areas and campuses, it's invigorating. It really is. I love what I do.
I'll jump in here as well, and my answer will be similar to President Davis's. I think if you ever ask a faculty member what their favorite job is, it will be as a faculty member. And while I get to serve as an interim provost this year, and I'm the College of Business Dean, what caused me to go into academics wasn't administration. It was my passion for being in a classroom. And so that charge that you get, you talked about your charge in the initial assignment, it's hard to compete with the charge you get to interact directly with students in a classroom setting or in any forum. So I miss that piece of the job, but I love the variability of the job of being the College of Business Dean, because you walk into the building every day and you don't exactly know what the rest of the day is going to unfold. You know, you have your list of things you want to get done, and then those things that land in your lap. And so that's a very tough question. It's a great question. And I would say the dream of every academic is to be back in a classroom at some point. But the variability in the administrative work is very gratifying as well.
It is.
I feel like I could also answer this question a little differently. Okay, John, you don't have to exclude me. I never, Dr. Tarko will claim that I wanted, that I said that I would be in this role my freshman year, and then I didn't think that it was actually attainable. And so honestly, being here has been an absolute dream, and being able to work with Carly Jo, Megan, and Ryan, and the Senate that we have this year has been absolutely amazing. It's been an emotional day. I'm going to try not to cry. Hold it together. But also being able to work with exec staff. I mean, all of you just heard all of their amazing answers. We are so lucky at UCA. I've had the chance to interact with several different universities from across the country and their student body presidents. And when I tell them that we're even doing this event, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't even get a meeting. And it's been incredible to be able to brag on UCA, to be able to represent the best university in the world. It's true. It is true. And so just seeing everyone do what their passion is, and being able to help others execute some ideas on campus, or being able to take ideas from other students and make them happen. It's just been amazing, and I've been completely blown away. So this is my dream job. Unfortunately, I have 3 weeks left. And it's ending, but I wish I could stay longer, but unfortunately I have to grow up and be an adult soon, so.
Growing up is overrated. It's my 5th year here, and I'm still going to probably stay here for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
I think this is a great place to close. Thank you all so much for being here and for those really thoughtful answers. That was a really positive note to end on. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, fellow followers.
Yes.
Fellow viewers.
That's great.
The end.
Good job, Megan. What about that viewer turnout?
Man, I didn't know there was mandatory viewing by random administrators.
One to the work, we've almost.
We could. Me too. But you know, did y'all do that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hey, that's good. Well, if you ever wanted to
I was streaming it, like, we didn't went out after the last time.
yes, we didn't even start this.
Oh, good.
Hey, what are you doing now? I'm going to see Stevie.
Right.
Where? So good.
Excuse me, you guys.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, Rachel.
Whoa.